Hey everyone, here we go again, another dong. On my way to Heukseok-dong to meet my guide, Ryan, who is an urban or rural explorer or both. And he's going to show me and us some of the abandoned buildings or hanoks in Heukseok-dong.
A huge part of the neighborhood will soon disappear. So in today's approach, we will see what treasures of information are hidden in this abandoned part of town.
I've learned a lot through Korean culture just by exploring abandoned buildings and stuff.
Okay, so the goal of my series is to kind of figure out what the charm is of a neighborhood, what it is all about.
Yeah.
Do you think we can do that through abandoned buildings?
Definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. There's always something, I mean, it's going to be more bittersweet and more melancholic maybe, but there is some charm that you can see. Might be fading, but I think there's always something to see. This section that we're visiting will probably be gone in a year or two.
Yeah, you can literally see a circle of high-rise buildings around Heukseok-dong.
Encircling.
It's a weird feeling that this will soon disappear. And it's not a tiny area. Oh, and with us are also Joe and Sean. You might recognize them from Mahjong, Muwak and Jingwangdong. They are recording their podcast with Ryan.
Ryan, just curious.
Yeah.
Like, what is the charm of this in your eyes? Like, how do you see the charm in this? Because I can imagine some Koreans walk through this neighborhood, they're like, okay, I'm happy when it's gone.
I think there's charm just that it goes back to a time where Korea isn't trying to be K, blah, blah, blah. It's just more charming and more working class.
Yeah.
And not trying to be a world economic superpower.
Still, some businesses are open,
Yeah.
like this one.
Yep.
This is actually the first neighborhood where you can really feel that things gonna disappear soon. Everything here is empty. All these buildings and shops. See that there? All of that soon is gonna disappear. And I forgot to give you some orientation of where Heukseok-dong is. So Heukseok-dong is there on that side. You see the old town that will disappear. The new apartment buildings already here. And here on a small hill there's a pavilion. One that dates back, I believe, sometime in the Joseon dynasty. They used to stand a house here of one of the Confucian noblemen. They couldn't really figure out where the house was located exactly, but based on a lot of research, they chose this spot as close to where they think it was. And from here, you have a fantastic view over the Han River. Check this out. You can see the water level is rising because of Chung-Ang, but definitely a fantastic spot. It's just a small walk up on the hill, and there's even some information in English and Korean. Great. So also part of Heukseok-dong. I had to come back to show you this place.
Talks a lot about urban exploration, but can you explain again quickly, what is it?
Oh, wow.
What defines it?
Such a vague term that a lot of people who do it don't like that term, but it's a subculture that involves exploring like man-made structures, whether it's abandoned buildings or rooftops or going in tunnels. Like that's the gist of it.
Our initial plan was to see inside these buildings and find the old city hanoks. But do you see these yellow stickers on almost every door? That means it's illegal to go inside. So we will walk around, maybe sneak peek inside here and there through windows. And if we're lucky, some places without yellow stickers are open for a quick look. Just a quick look.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on this place. The neighborhood generally is a bunch of, gradually everything's being turned into new towns. So that's the code word for like obliterating everything, become apartment buildings. Originally settled by people escaping during the Korean War because it's on the southern side of the river, away from where the North was invading. Very mountainous, so it's really not really that valuable. And that was one of the hard parts about living here, was it was very hilly. And so it's been slated for redevelopment, but kept putting it off because it's going to require a lot of civil engineering to level a lot of this neighborhood. They're really going to try to flatten it, literally, like in Minecraft.
It didn't take long before we found something interesting, like this newspaper.
This is from 1995.
3 years after I was born. This is the abandoned ski resort.
Oh yeah.
Alpe. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
This is like a sports page.
The now abandoned ski resort, where I took my Dutch friends a few weeks ago, was still promoted in this newspaper. I love making the connection with the past to now.
So is this indicating that the gas is still hooked up?
There's no way that there would be gas still on. I don't know.
No, the circle means it's not hooked up.
It's not hooked up.
But I've also seen them use X's before, so every redevelopment is kind of different, like in their coding of
Maybe X means the gas is still hooked up.
yeah, which is weird.
So Ryan, what do you usually hope to find inside these houses?
I like finding bulldozed. I like finding like interesting stuff like right here.
Our current president.
Unintentional artwork. I love like the finding traditional motifs, whether it's pottery or like calligraphy, like that kind of stuff. This is beautiful in its own way. You don't have to agree with the president. It's just a weird aesthetic.
It feels like we're walking over a film set, but it's real. And not long ago, this part of the neighborhood was alive and kicking. Our next house is from 1959 or 1960, and it stands out. Different from what we've seen until now. And we find something I've often seen in Korea, but never knew the meaning of.
These things could speak if they could talk. What stories could they tell us?
I'm talking about bulldozed, talisman papers. If you know what they look like, you will notice them everywhere. Then, what are bulldozed? They are amulets used to bring fortune and ward off misfortune, typically yellow and red, where yellow fends off evil ghosts, and red stands for blood, fire and life itself. No matter how advanced of a nation Korea has become, it doesn't mean the average Korean doesn't want a little extra luck, so it seems. Sean and Joe made a podcast on this, and Ryan wrote about it on his website, so check it out.
This is a manhwa right here.
Oh, this is what you call a mangwa?
Yeah, this is the end tile, peace and heart. There's another one right there that's got other, like, I think it's got bulk, like the Chinese character for good luck and good fortune right there. There used to be much more stuff. It's every week I come here that it changes. Like, there's something being brought out and eventually moved out, and I'm sure people like the people in front of there are going to be moving this stuff soon, so it will be a bare alleyway eventually. People are coming back to get their stuff, so
Oh, Jesus Christ. It does work.
Oh, I wish I had that on film. Yummy.
you can see the layers of this neighborhood, because you see hanoks from the 60s, but you also see the housing from the 70s and 80s, kind of like mansions, kind of. So you see this kind of layers of how the neighborhood has changed over the last 3 or 4 decades.
Luckily, this neighborhood is not only abandoned buildings. That would have been sad. It also has
Joseon Ilbo Newspaper Museum.
But don't let luck be on my side.
Alright, this sucks. Second time I came back and they're closed again. Well, they're supposed to be open, but yeah. So here's something you need to know as well. There's like a little street parallel to the main street in Heukseok-dong. Lots of cafes, restaurants and bars. I was here the other night, really lively, lots of young people. And then I realized, hey, this neighborhood has a university that we didn't check out yet. So I came back to see what's going on.
Yes, there's an empty town. But it won't stop the university from kicking some energy into certain parts of the neighborhood. One place in particular caught my eye. And I love it so much that I want to share it with you. Dabangne, a dabang-like cafe that opened in 1983 and hasn't been remodeled ever since. Isn't that wild? Exactly the thing I like. Even the music is still the same. The coffee is on point, the owner is friendly, and prices haven't, apparently, been subject to inflation. In other words, they are cheap. This is a place I love, and preservation can be so incredible at times, and ironically in a neighborhood that will soon disappear. Partly.
이거 한국 전통 스타일이에요?
아 이거요?
네.
한국 전통 스타일이 아니고 이게 합작이 영국, 프랑스, 일본 세 나라에서 합작된 거예요. 예, 이 기구 자체가.
아, 그래요?
예.
Maybe you wonder why foreigners care about these abandoned buildings, these abandoned towns, and why they want to go inside to see what we can learn about Korea. Well, I think Joe had an answer to this question, and I agree with him. So let's listen what he has to say.
Foreign cultures tend to be bigger fans of places. They were really good at preserving things. Even Koreans were really good at preserving Chinese culture when Mao was totally obliterating Chinese culture. You find that the outsiders tend to see what is so special about a place. When you're immersed in it, you're like a fish in the water. You don't even realize you're in water. But I use the analogy of ducks. Ducks tend to go from pond to pond to pond, and they see what is special about each pond. And yes, the fish might know it more intimately than the ducks, but the ducks see what makes that pond so unique. They find something in the culture, and they love it. They fall in love with it.
Heukseok was, how can I say this, an interesting one. A big chunk will disappear. So what would that say about its charm? Not much now, and probably even less when it's all gone. Since the university is here, I guess we call it Chung-Ang's Changing Playground. Welcome to my dome. Houdoe!